I bought a car for $1,000. Was it worth it? Let's find out. Someone saw that on an inspection, that would probably fail and you would have to replace the rear bash bar. We got that rear bumper piece ripped off. This whole rear portion of the chassis is actually super clean and not rusty at all. So I'm super happy with that. I thought it was gonna be rusted right out. So that is really, really good news. All we gotta do is fix this bash bar so that we can pass an out of province inspection, which means we gotta cut all of this rust out of here because I cannot find any of these bash bars. I went to an auto wrecker. We couldn't find literally any of them because they were all rusted out like this. So it was totally pointless to take them. So we're gonna cut all this rusted section out and we're gonna weld some steel plates into there and then we'll just hit it with some undercoating paint. This should work out pretty good. Then we just gotta swap that caliper and she is good to go. And the wheel alignment. So now that we have this whole rear bumper piece off, I do not have a welder here or anything like that to fix it. I did just run to Home Depot. We got a whole bunch of sheet metal so that we can fix that freaking thing and some undercoat spray to spray over it so that she don't rust again. But we are gonna go to my parents' house tomorrow because my dad has got a welder. So for now, we're gonna finish everything up that we possibly can on the car tonight, which is gonna be popping this right rear wheel off. We're gonna replace that right rear caliper. I'm gonna try and do a little bit of a hoist alignment and set the camber. Colton's gonna hop up in the car and hold the steering wheel straight, and we're gonna set the toe because it is way the hell out. And I'm just gonna eyeball it the best I can because it is a budget daily driver. So I don't wanna spend a whole bunch of money on an alignment, even though I've already spent, I'm gonna say we're like 800 bucks into this for parts or 900 bucks for parts so far. I'm still trying to be as cheap as possible. So if we have to get an alignment in the end, big deal. It is what it is. But we are gonna try everything in our power not to. So let's get this caliper replaced, get the e-brake adjusted, set the coilover ride height, do a little bit of an alignment on it, and then that should be everything. I'm pretty sure. We're getting there, boys. All right, we just took this thing for another rep since we just did a makeshift wheel alignment on it. I had Colton sit in the car, hold the steering wheel straight while I adjusted the toe. Just held the tape measure against the fenders to keep it straight. Got the toe as close as possible on a hoist without an alignment rack. And then in the rear, we just eyeballed the camber, tightened the strut bolts up, and she's good. For now, it drives. I just took it for a rip. And the steering wheel straight, it pulls to the right, but that's something that I'm not gonna be able to get rid of unless I have an actual alignment rack and I can see the camber and caster angles. But we got the calipers bled. The brake pedal feels nice and solid. This thing also sounds a lot better at idle because I went ahead and adjusted the tension on the power steering belt. Now I can actually dry steer the car without there being belt squeal and stuff like that. It was adjusted way too loose. So that's also good. The only thing I didn't do was adjust the ride height, but I did go ahead and touch up some of the spots here. You can see where I painted a little bit, where there was some rust starting in metal on metal. I went through with a Scotch-Brite pad, scuffed it all up, and then laid a layer of paint on there. I also scuffed up the area of rust and just put a little layer of paint on there. I'm gonna have to do a second coat. It's just gonna rust again anyways, but from 30 feet away, it's not orange, so that's a positive. Another thing I did touch up was one little spot right here on the left front quarter panel, just so that doesn't keep rusting. But I wanted to show you guys on the inside of the car here what this sounds like. I don't know what the hell it is, if it's these coilovers need to be tensioned up more or what. When I dry steer this thing or I take tight corners, these coils, it's like they're twisting and then letting loose, and you can hear the spring popping. I'll turn it and hopefully it makes the noise so that you guys can hear it. It is so freaking loud, dude. Like, I almost just want to have someone turn the wheel so I can go out there and listen if it's like the strut mounts or something like that. That is freaking terrible. It's like the springs keep jumping on the coils. This is such a creepy way to light this. I feel like I'm about to tell a horror story. But last step for this car tomorrow is gonna be welding that rear bumper, get the rear bumper cover back on. Then we also need to steam clean the interior on this thing, pull the seats out, vacuum it all out because it's gross. But I don't care about that until we get this OPI done. So we gotta adjust the ride height on the coils is the main focus, get rid of that noise, weld this rear bumper, and then it should be good to pass the OPI. Last thing I forgot that we have to tackle tomorrow is the rear seatbelt pretensioners. Totally forgot about those, but we will get this whole trunk area cleaned up, get the seatbelts in there. That'll take like 10 minutes. All right, we are at my dad's shop now. I just want to give you guys a quick before of this bumper just to see how bad this thing really is. The top of it is actually okay, but it is the inside and the bottom that's completely rusted away. So I got about 4 sheets of 16 gauge sheet metal, and we're gonna see what we can do with this to make it look somewhat normal again. About an hour later, we are back at home and ready to get this bumper slapped on the car, get the whole rear end put back together, and this car should be pretty much ready to pass an out-of-province inspection so we can get registration and insurance on this thing and get it on the road. And then we can add up all the money we put into this thing, because right now, including the cost of the car, I think we're sitting around 1,900 bucks Canadian. So we're doing all right. That bumper, brand new, was $260 off of the Mazda parts website. Couldn't find it anywhere else. At the Auto Wrecker, they were all rusted out, just like the one that I have. And at the Auto Wrecker, they were 50 bucks for a rusted out one. We just fixed this one and made it look almost brand new, even though inside it is still a little bit rusty, for 50 bucks in scrap metal, and we used welding material and stuff like that. But this is the top side of it. You guys can see the thing looks super, super clean. It is a little bit bulkier in this area because we did put sheet metal around the previous bumper and just welded all around it and stitched the entire bumper. If we look at this side, this is the top side. You can see that I just stitched all the sheet metal together on the top, and we just sprayed over the frickin' thing with rocker guard to give her that brand new looking finish. But this thing is heavy duty. And this is the bottom, which looks super clean. That is 100% gonna pass an out-of-province inspection. It is currently almost 10:30. For the inspection tomorrow, we need to get this bumper on, get the rear bumper cover on, get the spare tire back in, get the rear seat belts replaced with the ones we got from the Auto Wreckers. Our paint dried on this one quarter panel, which looks terrible, but from 50 feet away, it looks like the car's not even rusty. So let's go ahead, get this bumper back on. I got the body clips in my hand to attach the foam piece to the bumper, which yes, it does still fit even after putting all that on. I made sure it still fits. Not gonna lie, that was kind of a fun project to build that. I enjoyed it. So let's finish this damn beater. We're getting close, boys. The rear bumper's on. All the top mounting positions are good except for the quarter panels, obviously, because we got a rust hole there. I did have to drill 2 holes in the metal that we welded onto the bumper beam, right where the original holes were, just so that the 2 little plastic hooks on the bumper would kind of go into the holes and then they hook onto the bumper beam. So it's basically OEM at this point. The other thing I did was there was a gap in that little rust hole right there. And if you looked from inside of the car, you could see the light coming through there. So that means water would be getting in here, and that's probably how these things rust so bad. So what I did, this is not gonna last at all. I'm gonna have to weld this eventually, but I just put some silicone. What I should be using is some 2-part epoxy or something like that that's gonna harden. But I just put some silicone on there for now. It's obviously not gonna stay. I don't really know why I did it, but we're gonna see what happens. Next thing I did was swapped out both seatbelt pre-tensioner retractors, whatever you wanna call them, on the rear. So both those are good now. Both of the seatbelts pull in and out, and when you yank them, they lock, which is good. I should actually make sure this one does. Yep, it does. mint. We got the entire trunk area cleaned up, but we got the back seats out now, and look at the freaking mess in this car, dude. I don't know how people let their cars get like this. It's so gross. I'm not gonna steam clean this all yet just because it is now 11:39. That took a lot longer than I thought it was going to, just because we had to drill holes in the bumper and stuff. And I gotta work at 7 a.m. tomorrow, and I've been staying up till like 1 a.m. working on this thing pretty much every day this week. So we are going to get everything taken out of here, vacuum it, and then we gotta get the rear seats slapped back in, lift this thing on the hoist. We gotta build mounts on the bottom of the bumper for the plastic bumper. I can see the finish line, boys. We are close. Boys, it's like 2 a.m. but we got this thing on the road. Steering wheel is relatively straight still. I adjusted the height on the front coils and the preload on the springs. Messed with my camber a little bit. Now it's still pulling to the right, but not as hard. I can tell the toe is out a little bit for sure. But the biggest thing is now when I'm turning the wheels, the coilover spring bind up is not happening as often. So it's not making that like super gnarly noise. If I come to a dead stop here and just crank the wheel back and forth, it did it once there, but it's not doing it as often. So we might have to tighten the coils up just a little bit more, but for now, I think she's good. When I pull it back in the shop, I'm just gonna double check the ride height, but this thing feels solid now. The only thing I'm not liking about it is the alignment, and you can feel it when I'm driving on ice or taking tight corners or anything like that. You can feel that the toe is definitely not dialed in. So if we look from the side of the car, you can actually see the camber on this wheel looks pretty good, and the toe looks pretty good. Ride height is pretty low. We got like a 2-finger tight gap. So we're probably gonna raise it up in the rear eventually, but not right now. Then in the front now, we got this thing raised up pretty high. We got like a solid 2-finger gap there. And if you look at that tire, it looks relatively straight. So the alignment on this side's pretty good. But if we hop over to the driver's side, you guys can see that one is turned into the right. So the one on the left here is towed in a little bit. But the camber is a lot better than it was before. No more positive camber. And on this side, no more crazy negative camber. And on this left front wheel, we also got a good 2-finger gap, which is exactly where I wanted it. I don't want this thing slammed to the ground. It's gonna be a daily driver. We are gonna raise the rear up to a 2-finger gap as well. We just haven't got there yet. So for now, I'm gonna leave it as is. It is like 2 o'clock in the morning now. So that's gonna be it for work on the car. We're gonna take it for that Province inspection tomorrow. Everything in here should pass the inspection. We got the interior all cleaned out, but the rear seats are missing all of the mounting hardware. Like there's none of it there. So I'm gonna get some slapped in before the Province tomorrow. There's just a bunch of 8x125 and 10x125 bolts and nuts. So that should be easy enough. So let's pray this thing passes the Province inspection, because I have done a lot of work to this car. And to be honest, we put more money into this budget $1,000 daily than I thought we would have. So for now, we're gonna cross our fingers. Let's hope we pass the OPI. I'll pick up the camera in a couple days after we get the Province done. All right, boys, it is now after the New Year's long weekend, even though I posted the last video on New Year's Day. But officially, Happy New Year to you guys. I don't wanna get too much into it in this video, but we did set a goal for 2023 to hit 5,000 subscribers, and you guys absolutely crushed it. So I just wanna say thank you. I'll talk about it more in another video. But the Protege passed the Province inspection. Everything is all good on it, but we did need to take care of a couple things that I did not have time to get done before we sent it to the shop, and I already just took care of all of them off camera. Conveniently, right when it got to the shop, all of the brake lights burnt out, which is hilarious because I was going to change them all, but I just didn't get to it. So I just went through, replaced every single bulb in the back. We also just got the ride height raised up in the front and in the rear. You guys can see she's got a nice big old fender gap there, like a daily driver should. And if you look in the back, she's got a nice big old fender gap as well. Before, the gap was completely slammed climbed right out in the back. So now we got equal gap all the way around the entire car. Colton is doing our wheel alignment for us tomorrow, which I'm not going to be able to film. And then this car is dialed and ready to be a daily driver, which is freaking awesome. And for the amount of money we put into this car, I'm not sure you can really get much cleaner of a daily winter beater for this price. Now, cleaning the interior is not really that interesting, so I figured I would jump to the important stuff that you guys want to see. Because the car is completely done, I've been driving it every day, the alignment just sucks. I did actually get the factory radio working, and I got all the interior lights working. All it was a blown fuse for the interior lights, which also affected the lights on the radio, so that's why nothing was working on the interior. Now you guys can see when we pop open the door, the interior lights turn on, which is freaking sick. And the little light for the key fob even turns on right there, that green one. And the radio works. So that is super good news, and this car is pretty much dialed now. Like I said, other than the alignment and steam cleaning this greasy ass rear carpet. So I got the car pulled outside right now. We busted out the good old steam cleaner. We got some hot water in there. We're gonna run some soap through it, and we are gonna see how clean we can get this greasy rear carpet for the trunk. Because this is by far the most disgusting part of the car. I've been driving it around for the last week without this even in the car, just open spare tire, because it's that gross. So all we got left is steam clean this carpet. In this video, I'm gonna steam clean the rest of the interior off camera. We're gonna get our good old Idoing head unit installed, since she just came in the mail today, and this thing looks freaking sick, and it's gonna be no more than a 10-minute install, because Idoing sends all of the harnesses that you need with these kits, including the trim tools and the screws and a screwdriver and everything to install the head unit into the car. It also comes with a plug and play adapter and an antenna harness, which is wicked. This is gonna be a direct swap. So let's get to it, and then I am gonna give you guys a part-by-part price breakdown of what this entire rebuild costs, so that you guys know if you buy a car for $1,000, how much money you probably need to spend to make it roadworthy again. Let's get it. Look at that. That is like 2 to 3 liters of just grossness. It freaking plugged that filter right up. This is absolutely disgusting. Nasty. Okay, let's install a head unit. Boys, we got like a $500 head unit in a car that I bought for $1,000. This looks so much better than the factory head unit. We got everything swapped over to the Idoing dash kit. The whole Idoing dash kit is black, whereas the previous one had like carbon fiber strips on the side and was gray. Personally, I think it looks great. Matches the whole dash. The only thing it doesn't match is the trim around your shifter, which isn't bad. But I freaking love these head units. This is not a dedicated head unit install video, so I'm not gonna go through. I have lots of install videos. This one's actually the same processor as the previous install video I did on a 04 STI. So I'll put a link up top on the screen to that video if you guys wanna know how to go through the features on these head units. But my favorite thing about these is that you can watch Bluetooth, Netflix, play YouTube music, Spotify, and freaking Apple CarPlay. Wireless Apple CarPlay to be exact. Another thing you can do on these head units is do a mirrored screen, so it'll mirror the screen of your phone. You can do it wireless or wired. Right now, this is wired. You just gotta follow the steps on the screen, but we're not gonna do that. We are going for the Apple CarPlay. And just like that, super quick, we are connected to Apple CarPlay. Press play. We got sound in all of our speakers, which is freaking wicked. We got Google Maps. We got everything in a $1,000 beater, which is freaking unreal. One thing I will say, the factory head units do suck to pull out of these things. You're supposed to have a special tool to insert into the sides of it to pull it out, but I just use a bunch of small screwdrivers, stuck them in, pulled to the side, yanked it out. There's lots of videos on the internet showing how to do that, so I'm not gonna break that down in this video because that is not the main focus of this video. Also, getting those HVAC controls out kind of sucked. You gotta disconnect the linkage to the blend doors in behind the dash, but we got her done. And we also ran our mic up to the A-pillar right here. So it was a lot more than a 10-minute install. That probably took about an hour just because of all the stuff you got to screw around with. But she's in and I'm happy with it. And while we were working on the Protege over there, getting the head unit in, this rear trunk mat has been drying. It looks like it is pretty clean. I ended up steam cleaning the backside of it too. There is a little bit of a smell to it, so I might do it one more time just to try and get the smell out, but it's coming out decent. Now for the very last part of this video, we are completely done this car. Like I said, other than steam cleaning the interior, and I've been driving it back and forth to work all week, and she's been reliable as can be. So I kept track of every single dime that I put into this car over the last 2 videos, rebuilding this thing, getting it back on the road, because I wanted to see if I was overspending or if it was actually worth it to buy a $1,000 car. So we're gonna buzz through this super quick because this video is long enough already, and I only wanted this to be a 2 video build series so we can hop right back into the Turbo Civic videos. The first part that we spent money on was obviously the car. $1,000 for the car, cash, done. Our next expense was $57.70. That was the cost for the U-Haul rental. Like I said, I'm keeping track of every single cost from the time I got this car to today. Every dime that I've spent on this thing. Next, we replaced both front lower control arms and both left-hand CV boots. That was $170.21. So now we're up to just over $1,200. The out of province inspection form from the registry to take to a shop so that they can sign it was $9. Engine oil filter was $5.83. Rear brake pads, rotors, sway bar links, and front brake calipers, because we replaced both front brake calipers, was $383.97. So now we're sitting at just over $1,600. And at this point, I was like, I only wanted to spend $1,500 on this thing, and now we're already over. But my budget in the end, emergency, was $2 grand. So we're still in good shape. Definitely wasn't planning on replacing both front brake calipers, but at least we got that peace of mind now. Next, we're gonna subtract $51.78 off of that for returning the brake caliper, because when you return the old caliper, you get a core charge for it. So we're sitting at under $1,600 again at $1,574.93. Then we spent $100 on a set of used Michelin X Ice tires, which was super cheap. Right rear brake caliper and left rear brake caliper were $197.84 each. That puts us over $2 grand. Now we're at $2,070.61. $6.58 for the caliper banjo bolt for the left rear, because the caliper didn't come with one, so I had to buy one. Now we're gonna subtract $47.25 for the left rear and $47.25 for the right rear caliper core credit. So now we're back under that $2 grand mark again at $1,982.69. Then we got 4 sheets of 16 gauge sheet metal to repair that rear bash beam that we replaced in this video, or not replaced, but we fixed it and custom fabbed it up. Those cost me $106.60. I spent a lot more than I thought I was going to on those. Then we took it for the out of province inspection, which we got for $157.50. So now we're sitting at $2,246.79. We fixed everything, we got the out of province done, and she's on the road. After that of province, and after I fixed that bumper, I did not need 2 of the sheet metal sheets, so I returned them. We got $53.30 back for returning those. So now we're sitting at $2,293.49. Oh, the other thing I forgot to mention that I had written down here before that, after we got the out of province inspection, I went and got the car registered, insured, and got a license plate for it. The registration alone in the license plate cost me $100. So that put us at $2,346.79. Then you subtract the $53.30 for returning the metal sheets. That put us at $2,293.49. Then we are pretty much done at this point. Now I bought 2 more things for this car just to make it a little bit nicer. We bought rubber floor mats because this is gonna be a winter car, just to prevent the floor pan from rusting out. Those cost me $20.99 on sale. And then I am gonna be 100% honest with you guys. I would not have put this Idoing head unit in this car. This is a budget build. That's like a $500 head unit, and that's just not justifiable to put in this car. We posted the first video on this thing and showed that the radio didn't work, even though it was just a fuse. Idoing reached out to us and told us they would send us out a head unit kit for this thing. So all I had to pay for the head unit was $23.66 in import fees, because it does come from Hong Kong in China. So I do want to give a quick thank you to Idoing for always supporting the channel and sending us out a head unit for this thing. So all of the things I just listed off comes out to a grand total of $2,338.14. Now, if you take out the cost of registration, the U-Haul, all the forms for getting the OPI done,
getting the out of province done, all that stuff. If we were just fixing the car and getting it on the road, that would have cost us literally 2 grand, almost on the nose. Keep in mind, we have not touched anything on the engine. All we've done is driveline stuff. So pretty much what we have confirmed in this 2-video build series is that it is impossible to buy a car for $1,000 Canadian or $700 US and not need to put at least another $1,000 of maintenance into it, if not more. I think we got lucky on this car. I think this car was super clean and it was a really good find, especially for a cheap daily driver as a winter beater. Another lesson we could take out of this is I think I could turn around and we could easily sell this car for $3,500. We've put $2,300 in, so that's an easy, well, not easy, we had to put a lot of work into it, but that's a $1,200 profit, or possibly $1,700 profit if we could sell it for 4 grand. I feel like that would be tough to swing because the car does have 270,000 kilometers on it, but for a rust-free Mazda Protege in Alberta, Canada, it's pretty rare. I shouldn't say rust-free. There's definitely rust, but not that rusty. So essentially 2,300 bucks into this car. We got a reliable daily driver. That's gonna be it for this build series. I hope you guys enjoyed it. It was short and quick. 2 videos, but I had fun, and now I got a car that I can drive to my parents' house, which is 50 kilometers away from my new house, that's efficient on fuel because I could not afford to keep driving my truck out to work on the Civic. So for those of you guys wondering where the Civic videos went and why I started another separate build series, there's your answer. So now we got the Protege, now we can go work on the Turbo Honda, so that's what I'm gonna go do. Peace out, you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Hope you enjoyed this little build series. I will catch you guys in the next one. Oh my God.